And we want to get to some breaking news from the White House. CBS News White House reporter Willie James Inman joining us now. So, Willie, the Treasury Department just announcing sanctions on the Colombian president. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right, Jules. The Treasury Department releasing this statement saying that they are sanctioning the Colombian President Gustavo Petro, his wife, his son, and associate. In large part, this would mean that they would not have access to any U.S.-based assets, that any U.S.-based persons would not be able to interact with them, at least on a financial basis. Certainly, this is an escalation on top of that military buildup there in international waters, responding to what the Trump administration calls basically a war against drug cartels. We have seen strike after strike targeting those boats of alleged drug runners. And now over the weekend, the Colombian president accused the U.S. of murder, accusing them of murdering a fisherman who was not, the Colombian president says, a drug runner or anybody involved in a drug cartel. So certainly this is an escalation of events, with the U.S. announcing they're sanctioning the Colombian president. I'll point out a statement coming from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent that says President Petro has allowed drug cartels to flourish and refused to stop this activity. And then he goes on to say today President Trump is taking strong action to protect our nation and make clear that we will not tolerate the trafficking of drugs into our nation. Part of that statement coming from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent there, as we get word of this news of the U.S. government sanctioning the Colombian president, Jules.
Yes, this news just coming in right now. Let's all shift our focus now. Let's talk about the entire East Wing of the White House. It appears to be demolished. So let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison. You can see the East Wing and the garden intact on one side, if we look at that. And on the other side, the National Park Service says the planning of the garden started during the Kennedy administration. It was finished during the Lyndon B. Johnson administration. First Lady Bird Johnson named the garden to commemorate First Lady Kennedy once it was complete. So you see the two images there. So, Willie James, what more can you tell us about the construction of President Trump's ballroom?
Yeah, well, as part of this process of that construction and tearing down basically the entire East Wing there, this garden was removed, according to sources confirming this to CBS News. Now, as you mentioned, this garden was commemorated and named for the former First Lady during the Johnson administration. And we, of course, know that there are certain historic gardens or certain historic pieces that certainly were stored in the East Wing, many of those removed and handled by the White House and a historic commission. But on top of that, this planning that we've seen piece by piece drip out in terms of the scope and scale of the president's ballroom. He did previously say that the ballroom construction wouldn't touch the White House. Now, we, of course, know that the demolition process, as you can see there on your screen, has played out, much of the East Wing being torn down to make room for this ballroom. The president is saying that in part of the construction, it would call for removing the East Wing, and the president and the White House would say that they're making it better in terms of building that ballroom for future administrations to enjoy. And the scope and scale has really increased as well, Jules, going from some $200 million, the president said, to some $300 million. And much of those funds, the White House claims, being provided by private donors, Trump himself. So clearly, there's a lot more to learn and delve into in terms of this White House ballroom situation. But the White House saying that they're being transparent, that the Planning Commission, the proper commission, wasn't necessarily notified until vertical construction begins. But certainly historians and people who watch and try to protect parts of the White House and other historic buildings in this city are certainly looking at this with close eyes and pushing back. In fact, a lawsuit was filed to stop this process, but we, of course, know that the East Wing, much of it has already been removed, Jules.
Willie James, thank you.